My life before, like 4 years ago, I was in corporate. I used to work like 18-hour days.
Every day seems as if it's a struggle.
Before, I was living a mundane life, going to work, coming back.
I felt like a hamster, running in this circle going nowhere.
I don't see how all of this actually creates happiness or takes us to a place of joy.
Just thinking, there's that song, there's got to be more to life. And then lifting the veil has brought that more to life.
Lifting the veil was something everybody had spoken about.
I wanted to see what else is out there. And, well, I got more than I bargained for.
So much has shifted for me. It feels like I have called back fragments of my soul that I've left behind.
Taryn, who I had known before lifting the veil, when she introduced this course, I was just like, this is for me. This is how I'm going to learn. This is how I'm going to unlock. This is how I'm going to remember.
I was a bit scared, and so I wasn't keen on doing it initially. I didn't think I was ready.
And I was fairly resistant to coming on the course because I think you get so socialised into believing that it's not right and it's a little crazy, but somehow it kept drawing me back, and I signed up and here I am.
Depending on how you were raised, you want to fit in. So you'll do what society thinks we need to be doing, etc.
When I was little, I believed in fairies. I used to play with them. And I used to see beings of light. But as I grew up, you taught that that's very cute when you're little, but not so cute when you're an adult.
I knew that if I didn't do it, that I was always going to have the what if. What if I just took a chance? What if I just went? How could my life then have been different?
Sure, so much has shifted.
A lot has shifted.
I think the shift for me was that there was just more to everything that I had been seeing.
I can just feel like my light is starting to shine and my energy is starting to expand.
Religion wasn't dismissed. There's a place for everything.
I know that I'm here to serve. I know that I'm here to shine my light in whichever form that may be.
I have purpose, I have direction. There's more to me than meets the eye.
Everyone brings a piece of light to this world. Whether you are a light walker, a light bearer, a light warrior, you all show up in your light in different ways, and that is how we make the light shine brighter in this world.
We all are here to serve in some way.
I feel like I'm here for a reason, so it wasn't a random accident.
It's brought more peace into my world.
The energy that I get through this, I can actually take back to the office. And that's been the amazing thing for me.
I'm more grounded. I'm a nicer person.
It's very messy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not nice.
I faced my shit head on.
Well, you know what, you're curious about it. If you go and you don't like it, you can always leave, but once you start, you just don't want to leave.
So it's for the person that feels, I can't do this anymore. I'm just about at my wit's end. I'm just about to give up. I can't carry on this way. Something has to change.
I would really recommend it to anyone. Obviously, anyone with even the vaguest curiosity in spirituality or crystals or anything esoteric, it's a must.
It's about truly finding your purpose.
But even just for people who feel that their life is just like, there must be more to life, just as simple as that, there must be more to life, then this course is for you.